Hey friends, welcome back to Just Writes a Book. I am Jess, and today we are going to be wrapping up January. Before I even get started, if you hear squeaking in the background, it is my dog who's playing behind me and making a whole bunch of noise with his breath. So before I talk about anything else in January, I think I need to be completely honest and say that it was a rough month. From having random pains in my side and other health issues, stuff going on with Nick, my husband. We also ended up having to say goodbye to our dog, Boston, that we had for 14 years. His 14th birthday would have been on Valentine's Day, actually, so in just a month. Less than a month, actually. He would have been 14. And last week on January 21st, we ended up having to say goodbye to him because we found out that he was sick and in pain, and it was a whole thing, and it came on very unexpectedly, and it just kind of threw off the rest of the week for me, obviously, and I'm slowly now getting into the swing of things at the end of the month, but because of just a combination of things, I didn't get as much done in January as I would have liked. I think overall it was a good month, but maybe not quite as good as it could have been. So let's jump right in. Let's talk about the goals that I had for January when I did my first video, the kind of first bookend of the month, where I talked about my goals, what those were, and in fact, the first thing that I talked about in that first video at the beginning of January was my reading goals. My reading goals for the month. I don't really know that I actually went into full detail in that last video, but I did have 9 books on my TBR that were ARCs. I have a goal of reading 1 nonfiction book per month, and I also want to read 1 book from my TBR shelf, which is right here behind me, a month in the year 2025. I did not reach that goal. I only finished 1 of those ARCs. I read Witchcraft for Wayward Girls by Grady Hendrix. I am part of a ARC readers group and on an app for Penguin Random House. And so every month I get to go in and see what audiobooks they have on there, and I can listen to audiobooks early, before they are released. And Witchcraft for Wayward Girls was one of those books. And again, that was the only one of the 9 books, the 9 ARCs that I had on my list for January that I finished. I ended up liking it. I gave it 3 stars. I feel like Grady Hendrix books are either really hit or miss for me. I think this is the 4th, or I think it's about the 4th probably book that I read by this author. And I have really liked 2 of them and didn't love 2 of them. The last one I read was How to Sell a Haunted House, and I ended up really not liking that book. I think just the subject matter kind of wasn't for me, and I just didn't love the sibling dynamic in that book. This one, with Witchcraft for Wayward Girls, I feel like it had a lot of really good potential. I really enjoyed the way it started. I liked the premise of it. I think it could have been really good. I just didn't love. I liked it up until the 40 or 50% mark, and then things kind of changed and took a turn and got kind of weird, which is typical for Grady Hendrix books. But I didn't love the way it went. I don't want to give any spoilers, but I ended up not liking the second half of the book. I ended up giving it 3 stars, which isn't terrible. That's kind of basically middle of the road as far as my ratings go. So it wasn't bad, but it wasn't great either. So that was, like I said, the only ARC that I finished in January. I did meet my goal of reading 1 nonfiction book in the month, and that was The Radium Girls by Kate Moore. I actually really liked this book. This was a recommendation by one of my coworkers, and I knew about this whole thing with radium and the poisonings that happened because of it, and Marie Curie and all those things, kind of on a surface level, but I didn't know that much about it. And this book really takes you into the lives of these girls and tells you about how they suffered, and just the negligence and disregard for these girls that led to their poisoning. And I think she just did a really good overall look at the story of these girls, and so I really enjoyed it. I gave it 5 stars, and it ended up leading me to other books that are related to the same subject that are now on my list of nonfiction books to read, so I'm really happy about that. And then I started 1 book on my TBR shelf back here, and that is Phantasma. I don't remember who the author is, but I'll put the cover up here. I did not finish it. I'm about 30% of the way in, maybe. That is the book that I keep on my nightstand, and I'm just kind of slowly making my way through. I'm trying not to put too much pressure on myself, especially now. You know, I'm just kind of taking things a little bit at a time. If I need to rest, I rest. If I don't feel like doing anything, then I just kind of honor that. And so I've been reading a little bit at a time and not really pushing myself. I don't want to push myself into a complete reading slump. So again, that one sits on my nightstand and I pick it up when I want to. It's good. I'm enjoying it. It's not the book itself. It's just kind of me and what I feel like reading. So I will get through that one eventually. One book that I did finish this month that I absolutely loved was Blood Over Brighthaven. I just finished it yesterday. That book was so good, and I already know that it is going to be in my top books of the year, if not my favorite book of the year. It was so good. It was everything that I needed in a book. It had the magical elements. The magic system in that book is so cool. Terrible, but the setup of it is really cool. And I don't want to give away spoilers because I went into it blind and I didn't know what to expect, and I highly recommend that if you're going to read that book to kind of go into it not knowing what it's about or what's going to happen, because I was kind of on the edge of my seat the whole time. And it's not like a mystery, it's a fantasy. There's fantastical magical elements to it, but I was just never sure where exactly it was going to go. And I thought it was going to be more of a rebellion type of story, and there were elements of that, but it ended up going in a kind of a different way. I really enjoyed it. Like I said, I think it's going to end up being one of my top books of the year, so I highly recommend. So that was basically it for the month. I think I read 4 books in the month. I read Witchcraft for Wayward Girls by Grady Hendrix, like I said. I read another book called, I think it's Lost in Paradise, which was just a Kindle Unlimited romance that someone recommended to me as a comp for a book that I'm reading. And I don't know that it really was, but it actually ended up being really good, so I did enjoy it. And then Radium Girls and Blood Over Brighthaven. So those are the 4 books I read. There was a time when I was reading 12, 13 books a month a couple of years ago. But I'm trying, like I said, not to put too much pressure on myself and just let it be what it is. 4 books in a month is still an accomplishment, especially with everything that happened this month. So one of my issues lately, I think, has been that anytime I'm reading or I sit down to read, I feel like that's time that I could be writing, or I could be plotting or working on one of my other various projects. So I think I need to learn to find the balance and give myself the time to do all of the things I enjoy and not just writing. So I think that's going to be something that I'll talk about more in my February goals video. Now we're going to move on to my writing goals for the month of January. One of my biggest goals for the month was to start and finish plotting and outlining Project J&J. I would say that as of right now, I have this about 70% done. Maybe now where I'm sitting today, maybe closer to 80% done. I wanted to start using Sarah Cannon's Plot Your Novel workbook and do my character arcs and really kind of build up the world and the settings and all those things. And I did do some of that. If you saw my library vlog, you saw that I did start working on that Plot Your Novel workbook. I created the female main character arc sheet, but I haven't done the male main characters yet. I do have a basic idea of the settings and kind of their life experiences. Some of this book is set on my own life experiences and things that I have gone through and experienced, so I'm not really having to make it up as much. I kind of have an idea of where it's going. I think the biggest thing that's been holding me back with this story is figuring out the structure. This is going to be a second chance romance, and I keep questioning how I want to structure it. If I want it to be kind of in 2 parts, 1 book but in 2 parts, or if I want it to be kind of dual timeline. I'm really kind of playing around with different ideas, and I think that not knowing that and having that kind of unknown element has been holding me back. So I think that that's something else that I will talk about in my February reading vlog, how I plan on moving forward with that story. My next goal was to start editing Twisted Loyalties, which I did. I would say maybe 30% into editing the book. This is just my first kind of pass through. I'm going through and fixing grammar, fixing misspellings. There are places where I was kind of changing POVs while I was writing because I couldn't decide which POV I wanted the book to be in. And then where I'm changing different, from past tense to present tense, just kind of jumping all around. So I'm fixing those things. There are also a lot of places where I had placeholders and sticky notes of things that I needed to research and that kind of thing. So I'm making one master list of all the things that I need to research. So I think I talked about this. Was it in my, I don't remember if it was in that same like beginning of the month video or if it was one of my vlogs, but I think the way I'm tackling editing is going to be that this first like revision of draft 1 is going to be grammar, misspellings, fixing those POVs, and then doing all the research I need to do, and then going back in and adding the research will be kind of draft 2. And that'll add a whole bunch more information, and that'll give me a chance to kind of add more to the world and kind of develop things a bit, and then I will go into revising draft 2. So I think that's the way I'm going to tackle it. But like I said, I think I'm about maybe 30% in. I'm currently revising act 2, so getting close to the 50% mark, I would say. So I will count that as a win for them. One of my big goals for the month and for the rest of the year is to read different articles and watch different videos on like the craft of writing, on writing structure and the different types of outlines, and there's so many different types of structures. There's Save the Cat, and there's like the 9 part, whatever it is, one. There's just so many different options when it comes to like plotting out your story and outlining your story. And so I just want to kind of consume a bunch of stuff and figure out what process works best for me and learn as much as I can. So I did do that this month. I watched, I'd say maybe 3 or 4 videos throughout the month and read maybe 3 or 4 articles. So in total about 8 different types of things throughout the month, which I think is a win. If I can do like 1 a week, I think I would be happy with that. And on top of that, I did watch a lot of videos on like social media strategy and content, creating content, and like YouTube strategies and that kind of thing, which again I think is important to always be like learning and growing and trying new things. And so for this one, I would definitely say I hit my goal for January. One of the things that I did not do this month is participate or enroll in, I guess, that Dabble U. I talked about that in the previous version of this video. Dabble offers a kind of writing course. You sign up, and I think it's Jessica Brody who wrote Save the Cat, who kind of teaches the course, and there's a whole like host of like virtual courses and articles and different workbooks and stuff you can go through. I didn't do that. I think it costs like $100, which honestly isn't bad because it's yours forever and you get a ton of content and like things to study. We just haven't had the funds for me to put towards that, especially now with everything with Boston. Unfortunately, it wasn't inexpensive to do everything for him, so I think that I'll probably have to wait. That might end up being a goal for later on in the year. Okay, so on to some of my general goals for the month. One of them was the HP90 method. I wanted to jump back into this. This is something that I did last year at the beginning of the year. I took Sarah Cannon's HP90 course, and I really enjoyed it. I didn't stick with it as long as I wish I had, and I did incorporate a lot of the things that she teaches in that course into my planning, into my everyday life. I didn't stick with the actual like Kanban boards themselves, and it seems like that's going to be the case again this year. I did put them up. You'll have seen that in I think my like December reset or January reset video, where I was putting the cork boards up on the wall in front of me in my like writing area, and you'll probably have seen clips of them in a couple of my vlogs, but I actually ended up taking them down. They kept falling off the walls, they weren't sticking on there, the post-its kept falling off, and it was just annoying. And honestly, I just wasn't using it. I keep everything in my planner that I always have on me. I use Notion a lot. I usually have my physical planner and then I have Notion. And so having the same kind of tasks written down in a third place just wasn't really serving me, and it was just getting kind of redundant and it wasn't useful. So while I am still very much using the Kanban method, and I do use again a lot of the like principles and things that she teaches in her course, I'm not actually doing the like physical Kanban board on the wall the way that Sarah does. But overall, I did do this. It does help. I use it literally every day at work, so it definitely works to keep me on track. The goal I had was to help bring in some more clients to my V8 boss, might be a job that I do. This didn't happen. I did have a little bit of a hiccup with one of my clients, my realtor client who I've been working with for almost 2 years now. We had a little bit of a disconnect and kind of like miscommunication, but we talked it through. We've always had a really good relationship and good communication. We're both always like honest with each other, and so he kind of reached out to me and told me that he kind of felt like things were slacking off a bit and I wasn't completing tasks like as quickly as he needed or wanted, and just was very honest and just kind of asked me like, hey, what's going on? And so I explained everything that has been going on. At our house search that started in September, we found a house which neither of us were really expecting. Then the actual like home buying process, packing up our house, the actual move, we moved in and it was immediately the holidays. I was sick right after Thanksgiving. Then next thing you know, it's Christmas, and then we're going to Arizona for Nick's, for Nick to get on the kidney transplant list there. And then I had this like mysterious pain in my side, and it's just been one thing after another since like September. And so that is why I was not keeping up to my standard with him. And so again, I didn't have any qualms about like just kind of telling him everything, and he knew a lot of the things already. But it was really good for us to sit down and have that conversation and really hash things out and come up with a good game plan for 2025. And we did that, and we're on good terms now. Everything's great. I kind of feel like I'm starting to get back into the swing of things and back into my routine. And actually I have a new client starting. I just met with her today actually. She's super sweet. I'm really excited to work with her. I'm gonna be doing social media for her, and I think it's gonna be really good. So while I did not bring in that new client, my boss did. This will probably be a goal that'll continue on into the year, but so far right now things are going pretty well in my VA job in January. That I talked about in my beginning of the month video in January was wanting to post every day on social media. As the month has progressed, I have realized that is very like unrealistic, and especially because I wanted to post like 3 reels a day plus a static post every day. That's just not gonna happen. It was one thing when I was working from home and I had a lot more time. I didn't have travel time. I wasn't having to get ready every day. That job that I had at that time was a lot less demanding than this one is. My job now has so many different moving parts and so many like different projects and things that I need to constantly be working on, that I just don't have the same amount of time that I did before, especially because I do now have a commute and I do have to get up and get ready in the morning and get dressed and all the things. I can't just come sit at my desk in my pajamas anymore, unfortunately. So I have to kind of scale back and realize that I'm in a new season now and that I can't pour as much into social media as I was before. And so I have scaled that back, and I have come up with a game plan for February and the rest of the year that I'm hoping will work out well for me. For YouTube, I wanted to post once a week, which I have done. I am very, very thankful for all of you guys who watch my videos and are so supportive, and for all of the engagement and the comments. Since I've been doing this kind of shift to AuthorTube, I think I started in like October. I've gained a lot more followers. I started off, I think I talked about in one of my previous vlogs, I started off 2024 with like 20 followers, I think, or maybe 40. And now we're over 200, which I'm super thankful for. I see a lot of the same names in the comments, and when I do lives, and I talk to a lot of you guys pretty regularly. Ian, you were kind enough to send me your first 2 books, and I am slowly making my way through them, I promise, and I'm really enjoying them so far. That is so fun to get to read other fellow authors and writers' books as they're writing them and as they're coming out, and I feel really privileged to get to do that, and I'm excited to read more of you guys' stories. And Renee and I are now critique partners, and we talk almost every day, and just again slowly building that community means a lot to me, and I really, really thank you guys so much for that. We do have, I think in the last week, 6 new subscribers, so thank you guys so much for being here. I really appreciate it. I hope you again enjoy my little corner of the internet and the content that I'm providing. I do want to do more lives. That is something that I did a lot in November for the Rough Draft Challenge, and it's something that I would like to continue. My original goal was to do a live on Sunday evenings as I reset for the week. I haven't done that yet this month, but I will talk more about that in my February goals video, so be on the lookout for that. I think that 1 video a week is kind of good for me right now. I am trying to do some different things to switch things up a little bit and have a little bit of variety on the channel. But overall, I think occasionally there may be a week with 2 videos. Like this week there's going to be 2 videos, but on the whole I think it's going to be 1 video a week, and that is working really well for me. Another thing I talked about in that video, that first video, was my 2025 bingo board. And while I'm not using that planner anymore that I showed that bingo board in, I have slowly started taking some things off from that bingo board. One of the things I ticked off was starting a new hobby. I showed you guys a Lego set in that first video, and I did start putting that together. I have a couple of the pieces here on my desk, like this little flower. I think I showed a clip of this in my last vlog. That I'm having a lot of fun doing that, and I think that's the biggest thing that I kind of checked off that bingo board. But I hope to check off 1 or 2 of those a month, so we'll see what I get to in February. Another goal I talked about in that video was wanting to get outside more, be out in nature more often. That has not happened. I am not someone who usually has like seasonal depression or anything like that. I usually love the winter. I especially love the fall, but I don't usually mind the winter. I don't usually mind it getting dark early. I kind of get through the cold. I don't love it, but I can kind of, get through it. This year though, it's been really cold in Vegas, and the dark is getting to me, you guys. It is dark when I wake up. It gets super dark early. It's almost basically dark by the time I get home. It just makes the days feel so short, and like they go by so quick, and I just feel like I have no time. Again, my job is a lot busier than it has been in previous years, so I think that is contributing to it as well. But I had worked really hard to over the last several years to kind of create the habit of getting up early in the morning, and I had finally gotten to myself to a point where I wouldn't say that I'm a morning person, but I was kind of easily and regularly getting up early and giving myself like 2-3 hours before I had to be at work, or at least a couple of hours before I'd start getting ready for work. And I really enjoyed that time in the morning to start the day off, do my Bible study, have my coffee, kind of start getting some work done, figuring out what my plan was for the day, and really having that time. And I also really wanted to make time in the morning to go for a walk, but it's dark out until almost 7 a.m. and that's almost basically about the time that I need to get ready to leave for work now. So and then like I said, by the time I get home and cook dinner and everything, it's dark already. So I'm really looking forward to like daylight savings and when it will start getting lighter out early and stay lighter later, because I think that is just going to give me so much more time to do all of the things, and I will definitely be able to get out like in nature more when the sun is up more. So quickly going through the last few goals that I had for the month, I wanted to put away some money towards our cruise in October. I have done that. I wanted to have one dedicated like date night a month. We didn't really do that. I wanted to include more content about Nick and like my life as his caregiver and that kind of thing, and I have slowly started to do that. So overall, I would say that January went pretty well goal-wise. While I may not have hit every goal or necessarily completed all of the things that I wanted to, I did at least start most of the projects that I wanted to do and kind of got a good way through them. So I think that counts as a win. One of the big things about the HB90 method is looking at each quarter of the year and kind of planning things out and planning out projects for quarters rather than like a month or however long. Just really looking at the quarters as an entirety. So that's something that I've been doing. All of the projects that I have started and maybe not finished, I'm not like getting down on myself because I didn't finish them this month, because I know that I have the entire quarter to do them. So yeah, I think that this has been a decent start to the year, especially given the way the year has started out and all the different things that have been happening. I know that grief is a process and it's going to take time, and sometimes I need to give myself some grace and let myself just kind of feel what I'm feeling. And there's times for rest and there's times to push through and get myself to do the thing and to do the work and kind of use it as a distraction and coping mechanism and a way to just kind of move forward. So I want to thank all of you guys so much for your continued support, for watching these videos, for following along on this journey and in my life, and like I said, for all the engagement and just everything. I really appreciate you guys. Don't forget to like this video. It is super helpful. Go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already and you want to follow along on this journey with me. As always, happy writing, and I will see you guys in the next one.